Hello, everyone. Welcome to HerPath, the podcast for busy women looking for lives full of health, happiness, and purpose. And let's talk about fad diets, dieting, wanting to lose the weight now, tomorrow. I don't have time to be fat. And I want to do it so fast that I'm in my perfect body weight by next week. I'm a family medicine physician. I do a lot of weight loss coaching all day long, every day. And it always amazes me how, when it comes to wanting to lose weight, we want to lose it so fast. We want to lose it by yesterday, and
Mhm.
we'll do anything to lose it in the short term. And one of the biggest things that people will jump on is to a fad diet. So, what does that mean? What exactly is a fad diet? So, it's a way of eating that's popular, but it's only for a short amount of time. And we've all done them. I mean, I've done all of them. So, things that you may have heard of before, fad diets. And these are things that are very popular um, and get good results with like keto, low carb, paleo, whole 30, plant-based, vegan, vegetarian, um, the cabbage soup diet, the almond diet. I mean, you name it. Anything that has a title, a name to it, it could be a fad diet for you because you will be so desperate, you will be so motivated, or you have an event coming up, a wedding coming up, a reunion coming up, and all of a sudden you look in the mirror and you're like, I need to do something. I don't like the way I look. I don't like the way I feel. I need to do something now. And you get motivated for a short period of time. You go through extreme measures, changing your eating habits, not eating at a certain time, eating a specific kind of food, and then nothing happens except for being hangry all the time, being frustrated, getting disappointed, um, angry, and then saying, screw it. This isn't working. I'm just not going to do anything at all. Fat dieting doesn't work, and we all know it doesn't work, but why do we keep doing it? Why do we keep jumping on things that are so extreme, make us feel so deprived, something that we can't keep up for long term? Why do we keep doing these things? And I will tell you for myself, when the times that I have jumped on to fad dieting has been because I felt like nothing was working. But I will be honest with you, I probably wasn't doing much to try to get any type of consistent weight loss. It's kind of like I was just thinking that I wanted to lose weight. I was thinking that I should be thinner. I was thinking that I wanted to feel better, but not really taking any action to make realistic changes that I could adopt forever. And that's something that a lot of us don't realize is that when we make changes to get weight loss, it really is important for those changes to be sustainable over the long term.
Mhm.
Even if the changes are going to happen with the help of medication, or even if the changes in the weight are going to happen through adopting a specific way of eating, even if the changes are going to happen through a surgery, there has to be a baseline adoption of a lifestyle that is sustainable in the long term, that you feel good about, that you can stick to, that doesn't make you feel deprived, doesn't make you feel hungry all the time, doesn't make you feel like you're missing out on some things that you love in exchange for weight loss. Because in those moments that you do feel deprived, or you are hangry, or you are stressed out, if this isn't a way of eating that you can stick to, that supports your lifestyle instead of fights against your lifestyle, it's going to be a big failure.
Mhm.
Um, so There's even been studies done, medical studies done. There's a study in JAMA. It's a big medical journal that all the doctors and health professionals look to for medical and scientific knowledge. A study that was done looking at diets. It's called A to Z, looking at diets from A to Z. So starting from the Atkins diet all the way down to the Zone diet. And this study showed that in the long term, after 12 months, that no diet was significantly better than another diet in getting weight loss. And
Mm,
most of the people who did not stick to that way of eating gained all of their weight back. So dieting doesn't work. Fad diets don't work. So if dieting doesn't work, what the hell do we do? Are we just
right.
fated? Is that it? Screw it. Might as well just not do anything because diets don't work. No, it, something that does work. And there's another study that was a retrospective study that looked at people who actually set a structure for themselves and actually planned their meals. And this is even with all the things. This is with including the things that you love. This is including maybe even alcohol, maybe including sweets, maybe including um, carbs, or maybe including some fats. But people who structured their eating and actually tracked or logged or somehow kept that data, the record of the foods that they were eating, those people who actually planned and structured and tracked were more likely, I think it was like twice more likely to get weight loss and keep it off permanently.
Mm,
Permanent weight loss by just being insightful and intentional as to what you're putting in your body, documenting what you actually put in your body, having that information to look at and review and adjust given any results that you're getting, which is fascinating. And I've been keeping track. I've been logging my food. I want to say this is probably since after I graduated from college. Because in college, and that was in the 90s when I was in college. In the 90s, I gained the freshman. It wasn't 15 for me. It was like 20 pounds,
mm.
probably more than that. But I didn't weigh myself at that time. I really didn't pay attention. All I know is that I had to keep buying bigger clothes. But so once I got into graduated college and went into the um, working world, and I started paying attention to my health. I started tracking and keeping a food log and documenting what I actually eat. And to this day, I still do that. Probably not as consistently, but it is very insightful to keep track of what I'm eating, and a lot of the times it's the same kind of foods on rotation, and that has been what has been most helpful in helping me keep weight off, maintain my weight loss, um, or sometimes if I, want to gain a little bit of weight. I know that's crazy that we want to gain weight, but for me, I'm perimenopausal, so I need to have muscle mass, so I need to have good muscles, and to do that, protein. It helped me keep track of how much protein I'm eating to make sure that I'm actually eating enough for my body because not eating enough, especially for women who are um, at this age, perimenopausal, we absolutely need that nutrition to help with our hormonal balance, to help with our muscle mass, to help with our energy, to help with our brain focus and concentration. And not eating enough can also make it challenging to lose weight. I know that's crazy, like needing to eat more to lose weight. That doesn't make sense, but that's everybody's dream. But it's not eating more cookies, cakes, ice creams, milkshakes. It's eating more vegetables and eating more lean proteins. Um, so what are y'all's input, Elise and Nancy, about, fad dieting and wanting to get the weight off like now, tomorrow? I don't have time to have this love handle in this dress when I have a, spring break coming up.
Right. For sure, I've done fad dieting and I know it doesn't work because I've gained it all back. So I'm back on the, I don't know, do you think intermittent fasting is a fad?
So it can be if you're not adopting it as a lifestyle. So that's the trick, is something that you can continue to do
Right.
forever, right? And I do intermittent fasting too.
I do
So
too.
for those people who don't know, yeah, intermittent fasting is kind of like a schedule that you set yourself for when you will eat and when you will not eat. so that you give during that not eating period, it's called the fasting period. During that time, you allow certain hormones to go back down to baseline, like your insulin hormone, which is like the fat storage hormone, the growth hormone can cause some inflammation if it's overly secreted. Less of that so that your body can actually dig into your stores for fuel and release some locked up vitamins and hormones and good stuff that's locked up in your fat, allow it to be available for use. But that usually happens in the fasted state.
Yeah,
And so I do some form of intermittent fasting. I do.
right. That's what I do
Yeah.
now. I think it helps better for me anyway. I think the fad diets create the yo-yo dieting, and I really think that goofs up people's metabolic rate because I think your metabolism will slow down, which is not what people want. They want to increase their metabolic rate.
Right.
But we've been taught that carbs are the enemy, which they're not because they fuel our energy, our hormones, and our gut health. And eating fat makes you fat because it doesn't. It supports your hormones and your brain. So I think finding that sustainable way is great for your metabolism.
Yeah.
Balance your blood sugar, getting enough protein in, getting enough plant foods, fermented foods, and probiotic fibers.
Right.
You want to avoid blood sugar spikes. You want to manage your stress. Cruciferous vegetables for liver health to get the hormones like filtered out.
Right. And I think, and there are, when it comes to weight loss, we're all a little bit different in the kind of way we want to go about it. There are people who are very structured and will, once they decide they want to lose weight, and again, that reason why you want to lose weight is very, very, very important. And it's okay to want to lose weight for an event, you know? It's okay to want to lose weight for you want to look good and fit in your clothing. And it doesn't matter really what your personal reason is for wanting to lose weight. Your reason matters. And for me, a lot of for me, it definitely is health related. I love having energy. I love feeling strong in my body. I love being able to go throughout the day without feeling like I need to take a nap. I mean, for me, that's the worst feeling in the middle of the day, having a busy work day and I have to talk to people all day long. And I really need to be able to concentrate on what someone is telling me. I really need to listen to what someone's telling me.
Yeah.
And so I need a way of eating that really helps me sustain my energy, that helps me with my focus and concentration. I don't like my guts to be bubbling and gurgling and making noises like, like that's the worst. I'm sitting talking to a patient and then it's like, brrr, I'm sorry. You know, ah, I don't like to have, an unsettled gut. Um, I'd like my bowel movements to be nice and regular, TMI, but people pay the doctor a lot of money to talk about their gut and their digestion because it's just out of whack. So much constipation comes from not eating foods that support your gut or, leaky gut, gut inflammation, irritable bowels. And I mean, all of this has to do with the things that we put in our body.
Mhm.
And finding a way that works for you can sometimes be like um, you might have to try different things. There's not a one fit for each person.
Right.
Um, for me, I definitely do a lot better when I do a lot less sugar. Sugar doesn't really agree with me that well.
Mm.
Gluten doesn't agree with me that well. Um, Too much red meat, doesn't agree with me that well. It really constipates a lot of people and me too. I love it though. I love the way it tastes, but it just doesn't agree with me. And so knowing the things that don't agree with you, you will have to kind of experiment and eliminate some of those things to see how it affects your weight. Sometimes it causes a lot of water retention, some of those inflammatory foods that don't agree with you. Fatigue, brain fog, body aches, rashes. I mean, a lot of people think that that some of their allergies are more from things that they inhale from the environment. But there's a lot of things that we eat that we have intolerances to or allergies to that they can present also manifest on your skin or in your gut. But it does take some experimenting to figure out what foods agree with you and then figuring that out, but at the same time setting a structure for yourself so that you are keeping track of the things that you're eating so that you can know what works for you and what doesn't.
Mm. I've always said food is information.
It big time is.
Yeah.
And sometimes there are some foods that you absolutely love. You taste great to you. You get they're very palatable, but they just don't agree with your body. And
Right.
that's where you're going to have to be honest with yourself and really decide whether or not it's worth it for you to continue overeating something that is actually causing you physical symptoms.
Mhm.
Um, People see me at the doctor's office all the time. Doctor, I eat this and it makes me sick. And so, I mean, there's medicine for heartburn. Yes, there's medicine for stomach unrest. There is medication for gas. There is medicine for stomach crampings. There's medicine for chronic diarrhea, all of that. But really getting to the underlying root as to what is causing this, especially if it's dietary, I mean, that is really honestly the better solution instead of having a symptom and then taking something else from a symptom for the symptom of that, and then having a side effect from that medication or treatment, and then taking something else for that side effect. And then it's just snowballs with all kinds of uh, things where it's something that could be addressed by eliminating or restricting or less often smaller portions of things that are not agreeing with you.
That's fascinating because I had a client a few years ago and she was being worked up for MS, multiple sclerosis. And through my testing, I determined she was sensitive to gluten. And when she got rid of that, all of her neurological symptoms went away.
Oh my God, that's amazing.
Wow.
Yeah.
See? Yeah,
Yeah, that
Wow.
is amazing.
that was
Yeah,
super.
right. And um, so making these lifelong sustainable changes are key. And the biggest thing that I would want anyone to get out of this is really being intentional and setting a plan for yourself is where you're going to have the most success is it, and pick any plan, honestly. And I'm not going to say, start with low carb or start with keto or start with paleo because I was just having a conversation with a lady yesterday and I was telling her about plant-based eating. She's like, I hate vegetables.
Mhm.
I don't eat any of those things that you just mentioned to me. And so I said, okay, that's okay. That's okay. I was trying to provide, some kind of starting point
Right.
for you to help you with your symptoms. So I want you to make a list of all the things that you love to eat on the regular basis, but let's structure them and let's plan them so that you can have an idea of what you're putting into your body and how it's causing some of your symptoms. So that's what I recommend. Just start where you're at now. If you are wanting to get some weight loss, you want to plan a structure for yourself, and you just want a starting point, just start tracking what you're doing now. And there's a lot of free apps online. My favorite one to use is actually my Fitness Pal, but I know there's a lot of other newer ones that are out there and it's free. And so start keeping track of what you're putting in your body. Every lick, bite, drink, taste. Because honestly, if you don't keep track of that stuff, that adds up to weight that's not being lost by the end of the day.
Mhm.
And so, a handful of nuts, a handful of M&Ms, a couple scoops of the ice cream in the freezer, a couple sips of that juice, all of those things by the end of the day could be like a whole extra meal that was eaten.
Do you
But
think timing plays a role?
I'm
Timing? Do
sorry?
you think timing plays a role when you eat?
Yes, and so not only just structuring what you're going to eat, but when you're going to eat it.
Yeah.
And so, and for someone who's not, wanting to do intermittent fasting, that's fine. Structure your breakfast at what time you're going to have your breakfast. Structure your lunch for when you're going to have your lunch. I definitely do feel, though, that dinner should be the last meal and it should be definitely way before bedtime, preferably before it gets, really dark. And because we have a circadian rhythm
We
that our
do.
body, our organs are actually working when it's daytime. And then when it starts getting dark and into bedtime, our gut needs to go to sleep too. Our gut needs to rest, digest, and heal.
Yeah.
And so I usually like for dinner to be the last meal, definitely way before 8 p.m.
Right.
Yep. Okay. Let me ask you about the weight loss medication. So these injections. That's such a big deal right now, and millions of people are using them. Is that considered a fad, or is that considered a treatment?
Cool.
I,
It can be both. It can
okay.
totally be both. So the weight loss medication, so we in the medical field, obesity for people who have obesity, and there's a whole calculation to calculate based on body mass index. And I know it's not the best measure, but that's the easy and quickest one that we can get from height to weight ratio. Um, for people who have obesity or a body mass index of greater than 30, there are a lot of studies that show that there could be increased risk of medical conditions that cause disability or premature death, cardiovascular, increased risk of cancers, which are leading cause of death in this country. So those weight loss medications can be life savings for people with obesity. Obesity is a chronic disease, meaning people who use the weight loss medications for obesity will benefit from being on it long term.
Okay.
So as a treatment for obesity, that is a treatment. Now, as a trend, those are my friends who have, some weight to lose, but are wanting to do it fast to get into that dress or to look like they did when they were in their teens. And we want to use that obesity medicine. We want to use that medication just to get those few pounds off here and there, not thinking about make really or being very motivated about making lifestyle changes that can lead to long-term success in keeping weight off. And so in that sense, yes, it can be a fad. And there's a lot of like online, it's very, very accessible. It costs money. And so there is a price to it and it can be pretty pricey. But for people who are looking for a quick fix, that can be a fad.
Okay.
But for people who have obesity or who have diabetes, these and are you using it in addition to lifestyle changes for long-term treatment of their medical condition, then that is treatment and that is life-saving treatment.
Yeah. Good. Thank you for clarifying that because you can get caught up with, it's just everywhere and people are talking about it. And is it a fad or is it a treatment? And I like how you said they were both.
Yeah, it can be a little bit both. And I will have like, people come to see me about the medications and their normal weight, or maybe even on the lower end of the weight spectrum, asking about the weight loss medications. And so really asking about being very curious about what their whys are for wanting to be for wanting access to this medication or wanting to lose more weight. I look at it at that point because I'm a medical doctor, so I look at it on a medical standpoint, and there are guidelines for using those weight loss medications. And so body mass index is one of the guidelines that we use to indicate um, to help guide us on who would be appropriate for that. But there are a lot of places that you can get it online where they don't follow medical guidelines.
Got it.
So fad diets, thumbs up, thumbs down, big thumbs down on fad diets.
Okay. Yep.
Yeah. So lifestyle changes, adopting changes that you can keep doing forever and ever and ever and ever. And I say that all the time, forever and ever. When people come in and they're doing something specific to lose weight, we congratulate them, we celebrate. And then the next question, can you keep doing this forever and ever? Because the minute you stop,
Right.
just eating a Diet Coke and a Cheeto every day to lose weight. The minute you start eating food, the minute you stop that, the weight is going to come right back and then more.
Yeah.
So it has to be a permanent lifestyle change that is realistic for you to continue forever and ever. And the one way, the one thing that you can do to start is keep track of what you're actually doing that's working for you or that's not working for you so that you can make some small changes.
This was so helpful. Thank you, Gabby and Nancy, for sharing both of your expertise in this area. I'm sure our listeners are getting a lot out of this conversation.
It was fun.
And yeah, we will definitely have some more conversations on this as time goes by because this is something that we all deal with. We all want to be healthy. We all, and then as we get older, it definitely gets more challenging and metabolism changes. Our body's needs do change. Um, but going about it in a way that is sustainable and realistic and supports our body's needs is much more beneficial than trying to get, those 20 pounds off in 1 month through, white knuckling, not eating, starving ourselves. That definitely is not sustainable in the long term.
Right.
Well, we'll chat again soon. Y'all have a good one.
Hey, one more thing before we leave. This podcast is for informational and entertainment purposes only. We are certified professional coaches, but this broadcast is not a substitute for medical or psychological advice. Okay, thanks for listening. See you next week.